Have you ever lost someone that you love dearly in your life? Do you remember the pain and the sadness that you felt when you got that news? Imagine reliving that moment every day of your life because you don't remember they are gone. Imagine the pain and the frustration and the confusion that you would be in. Did you know that 5.7 million people in the United States are living with Alzheimer's? Most people are aware that Alzheimer's causes memory loss, but everyone should have a basic understanding of the actual changes that happen in the brain with people with Alzheimer's. I have experienced seeing my own grandmother suffer from this terrible disease and how it has affected her in her daily life. Today I will define Alzheimer's for you, and I will explain the science behind the changes that happen in the brain with this disease. So we will start by defining Alzheimer's. According to the Alzheimer's Association, Alzheimer's is a type of dementia that causes problems with memory, thinking, and behavior. Symptoms develop slowly and become worse over time with Alzheimer's. In its early stages, memory loss is mild, but with late-stage Alzheimer's, individuals lose the ability to carry on a normal conversation and respond to their environment. There is currently not a cure for Alzheimer's. According to the Alzheimer's Association, Alzheimer's disease is the only top 10 cause of death in the United States that cannot be prevented, cured, or even slowed. Alzheimer's does not occur because of old age. According to Scientific American's article titled, "Can Alzheimer's Be Cured?" they said, although old age is the single biggest risk for dementia, Alzheimer's is not a normal part of aging. So now that you have a basic understanding of what Alzheimer's is, let's dive into how the brain changes with this disease. We will look into the brain in 3 different steps. First, I will cover just a few basics about the brain. Second, I will talk about the change in the physical appearance of the brain with a healthy brain and Alzheimer's. And finally, I will explain the brain changes under a microscope. So first, let's take a look at a few of the basics of the human brain. There are 3 major parts of the brain, which can be shown in slide 3 of my slideshow. First is the cerebrum that fills up most of the skull. It is involved in remembering, problem-solving, thinking, and feeling. This part of the brain also controls your movement. According to Mayfield Clinic, the cerebrum is divided into 4 lobes: frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal. Next is the cerebellum, which sits at the back of your head under the cerebrum, the dark pink part, and this controls your coordination and your balance. Next is the brainstem, which sits beneath your cerebrum, in front of your cerebellum, which is the yellow part there. And this part connects to your spinal cord, and it controls automatic functions such as breathing, your heart rate, blood pressure, and digestion. The surface of the cerebrum is called the cortex. According to Mayfield Clinic, the cortex contains 16 billion neurons that are arranged in specific layers. The nerve cell bodies color the cortex gray-brown, giving its name gray matter, which can be shown in slide 4 of my slideshow. Beneath the cortex are long fibers that connect brain areas to each other, which is called white matter. So here we have gray matter and white matter in the brain. According to the Alzheimer's Association, an adult brain contains about 100 billion nerve cells, or neurons, with branches that connect to more than 100 trillion points. Signals travel through the neurons to form the base of thoughts, memories, and feelings. The Alzheimer's Association said, neurons are the chief type of cell destroyed by Alzheimer's disease. So now that you have an idea of the basics of the brain, let's look into the physical appearance of the brain and how it changes with Alzheimer's. So the whole overall appearance of the brain changes with this disease. According to the Alzheimer's Association, Alzheimer's disease leads to nerve cell death and tissue loss throughout the brain. Over time, the brain shrinks dramatically, affecting nearly all its functions. The cortex shrivels and damages the areas involved in thinking, planning, and remembering. And You can see this in slide 5 of my slideshow, how the brain shrinks. The Alzheimer's Association said, shrinkage is especially severe in the hippocampus, an area of the cortex that plays a key role in formation of new memories. Along with the shriveling of the cortex, ventricles, which are fluid-filled spaces in the brain, grow larger. And here we have another side-by-side of a healthy brain and a brain with severe Alzheimer's. So now that you understand how the brain physically changes and the appearance of how it looks, let's examine it under the microscope. So the brain tissue with Alzheimer's has many fewer nerve cells and synapses than a healthy brain does. There are things called plaques, which are abnormal clusters of protein fragments that build up between nerve cells. According to the Alzheimer's Association, plaques form when protein pieces called beta amyloid clump together. Beta amyloid comes from a larger protein found in the fatty membranes surrounding nerve cells. And you'll be able to find this in slide 6 of my slideshow. Those are the plaques. The plaques group themselves together in small clumps, blocking cell-to-cell signaling and activate immune cells to trigger inflammation. There are also tangles in the brain, which destroy a vital transport system made of proteins. So when healthy, the transport system is organized in parallel tracks. And you can see this here, and it will also be in slide 6. There are proteins called tau, and they help the tracks stay straight. And in unhealthy areas, tangles will form. So tangles form because the tau proteins get twisted instead of being parallel. The Alzheimer's Association said the tracks can no longer stay straight. They fall apart and disintegrate. So nutrients and other essential things that the brain needs can no longer move through those because they're no longer straight and they have disintegrated. So to summarize, there are so many people in the world that suffer from Alzheimer's, and so many of us that don't even realize how it works or what is happening to the brain. So to conclude and review, I have defined what Alzheimer's is for you. I've given you a few basics of the human brain and explained how Alzheimer's changes the brain. Whether you know someone who is suffering from Alzheimer's or not, now you know why those people act the way that they do and what is really going on inside of their brain.